guys, so welcome back to Lex Reads. So in today's video we actually are going to be doing my November wrap up, and as you guys know, I wrap up music, movies, and books that I read the entire month. So let's just get started. So for books, I read 3 books in the month of November, so that was good for me. The first book I read was My Name is Ona Judge by Suzette D. Harrison. This actually was our November book club pick, and it was okay. I would give it a 3-star. It's historical fiction slash like contemporary fiction. So the historical aspect, you have a enslaved woman named Ona. Ona was the slave of George Washington and Martha Washington, and she actually escaped after finding out that she was going to be like the permanent maid of Martha Washington's granddaughter, who is just unbelievably evil. So she escaped, but they knew, the Washingtons, they knew where she was, and instead of like forcing her to come back, they didn't, because they didn't want to cause a scandal. And she lived as a fugitive slave basically until she died. And then the contemporary aspect of this book, you have a young woman named Tessa. Tessa is accomplished, she has her own business, but she has a controlling boyfriend, and she doesn't know which way to go. But she finds a diary by, Ona, and that diary kind of gives her the courage to leave, or try to leave her situation. So that's what it is. I said it was okay. And then after I read in October Bernice McFadden, I actually did a read a book in one day. I did Praise Song for the Butterfly, which is my favorite book of all times. But after reading that, I was like, you know what, I still want to be in the world of her characters, so I wanted to reread. I started off with just rereading one book, which was Loving Donovan. And oh my goodness, I listened to it and read it at the same time, and it hit so differently for me, because the first time I read this, I was in my 20s and I'm in my 30s. So, you have different aspects when you're 30s. But this book is just, it's so bittersweet. And although you do get closure, but it's not wrapped up in a nice neat bow, but it's necessary, it's realistic. You have 2 characters. One is a girl named Campbell. Campbell comes from a broken home. Her daddy is a Rolling Stone, and she's seen that basically all of her life. And then you have Donovan. Donovan also comes from a broken home. His mother ends up leaving, and he's raised by his dad and his grandmother, and his grandmother is like, just tight, don't want nobody to leave her, But years later, Campbell and Donovan, they meet each other, and they actually realize, oh, we were living in the same neighborhood when we were younger, like the same block, but didn't meet each other until they were older. And they started a relationship, but something horrible happened to Donovan when he was a child, and it alters his relationships when it comes to basically trying to be in a relationship, when it comes to women. And because of that, a lot of things happen. And I always my heart goes out to Donovan, because you understand why he does what he does, but you just wish that he could have gotten some help, and yeah, this is just amazing. After I read this, I still wasn't done. I'm like, I have to read another one of hers. So I went back to her debut novel, which is Sugar, and this is just, oh my gosh. I have 2 copies of it. This is the first one I read, and I have another copy of it. It's actually in my car. I don't know why it's in my car, but I did a reading vlog on Sugar, because her books are a conversational piece, like such a conversational piece. Sugar is a sex worker. She comes back to Bigelow, Arkansas, and everybody know that she coming back. They don't want her to come back. And then in comes her neighbor, Pearl. And Pearl is a total opposite of, Sugar. A married woman, a church-going woman. And they start this friendship. They both bring out like the best of each other. And, Sugar learns from Pearl, and Pearl learns from Sugar. It's just that dialogue. And I love, especially the beginning when they first meet. it's my favorite part. That, and when Pearl kind of gets tipsy. I love that scene. Her characters are memorable, and all of her books are different. All of her characters are different. It's just the beauty of a great writer. So yes, Bernice L. McFadden was so yeah, I had a Bernice L. McFadden kick in November. Now let's get to the movies. First, I watched the movie Rebecca by what's the author's name? Daphne du Maurier or whatever. Usually I don't watch stuff like this. You know, sometimes you just like be on Netflix and you know, you might just pick something up. You know, let me watch it because I know that book is a classic book. And I actually did like it. I did like it. It's a one and done. I don't need to watch it again. But overall, I really did enjoy, you know, the movie. Then I watched a documentary called The Great Gardens. And this documentary came out in the 70s. It is the two, you know, women. The mother's name is Edith Bouvet Beale, and then her daughter's name is Little Edie. She's named after her, but they are related to Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. That is her aunt and her cousin. And oh Lord, first of all, the documentary is extremely entertaining, and it's not like a typical documentary where, you know, you have like talking, you know, like commentary. It's just them living their lives and it's just seeing the scene. But what was really odd about them, they obviously, you know, had money at one point, but the mother, back in like the 40s or 50s or something like that, her husband ended up divorcing her, and they had a trust fund, but that trust fund ran out, and they lived in the Hamptons, and they didn't have any money to keep up the house, and so it basically was like not abandoned, but it was a mess. Okay, it's a mansion, so it was about 14 bedrooms or something, just bedrooms, 14 bedrooms. And like I said, because they didn't have any money, no running water, no lights, they had 14 or 15 cats. They had, because the house was so raggedy and they couldn't fix it, you know, things break and come down, and you know, where they actually had raccoons living in their house and they would feed them. And every time where a room would get dirty, they would just shut the door and go to another room. Like I said, 14 bedrooms, and these women shared a bedroom, had like 2 beds. It was one scene, they had a cat using the bathroom, and the mom said, "Oh look, the cat's using the bathroom," like that was something normal. Girl, that house was unbelievably nasty. But the fact that they were able to stay there all those years, and at one point they did, the people in the Hamptons, they like basically started like a petition or something where they were gonna get like shut down and fined, and we're gonna have to, you know, get removed from the house. But Jacqueline Kennedy and her sister Lee, they end up paying like back taxes, and they also end up getting the house like semi clean. And that was like 2 years before the documentary came out. But then when the documentary came out, the house went back to being a mess. And they were able to get a little like stipend or whatever. And yeah, if you watch it, I would suggest you not eat when you watch it, because I know that house, but they were just so entertaining. Okay,
I want to show that to Al.
Oh, no,
I want to show it to Al.
Look what you made me do.
and a lot of times they like to say that, you know, oh, they were so eccentric. Yeah, but also they were off, because you don't have great sense if you're living in a house that is like that. Guys, please look it up. I'm being very gentle with them, but that house is a mess. That house was a mess. I was doing some research. After her mother died 2 years after that documentary came out, she ended up selling the house, and the new owners, they had to gut out the house because she said the cat smell was so just blaring cat smell that they had to gut out the house, and it took a couple of years to refurbish it, and it's still in existence. it's a designer now that lives in it, and it looks completely different. But one thing I would say that I felt so sorry for little Edie, the daughter. She was about in her 50s, almost 60s. But that mom, after that dad, left her, she called her and was like, I can't be alone and you need to come back. And she held that girl, and that girl was basically her companion. She was very selfish. And you can tell if you watch that, Edie wanted to just leave, okay? And she kept on saying, I've been here for 20 something years, taking care of you. You could tell she wanted to leave, but she couldn't. She was stuck because she had no money. And then the fact that her mom, did guilt trip her. And I think her mind was weak. And like I said, they didn't have all their sense. So she kind of felt like, well, I can't live out in this world without my, mother. And like I said, no money. So yeah, but the documentary was really, really good. So because I watched that documentary, I didn't know that there was a movie based on that, and it's starring Jessica Lange as the mother, and little Edie is played by Drew Barrymore, which I was highly impressed and shocked because with Drew Barrymore, because I've only known Drew Barrymore for like some romantic comedies. I've only seen like a handful, maybe one or two. I'm not just a big fan of her, but I was shocked because she really did a fantastic job embodying little Edie. I mean, she had the mannerisms down and the way that she talks, and she had like a little kind of odd, the way she talks kind of odd. But she did a fantastic job. But she actually won a Golden Globe or Emmy for that performance. Then after I watched that, I went back to another documentary. I watched this when I was in Virginia visiting my family for Thanksgiving. It's called Hitsville, The Making of Motown. And that was amazing, you guys. It came out 2000 and, I want to say, is it 19 or something like that? Because Mary Wilson was on there, and Mary died in 2021, so it had to be, before 2021. But the documentary tells you like the whole history of Motown and all the artists and how it was started. And the crazy thing is, I'm live in Michigan. I'm actually from Flint, Michigan, but Motown is obviously Detroit, and they still have the Hitsville, house. It's a museum now. And I was looking online. I said, you know what? I need to go and actually do a tour. And I'm like, I live in Michigan, so I might as well do that. I am going to do that. I was looking, like I said, online just to see, ticket prices and things like that. You do have to book it. You can't just walk in. You have to book the tour, and it was only like $20. So because of watching that, I've now in December I have been on a Supremes kick. I have been watching so many interviews of Diana Ross and the Supremes. I've been watching Look the Feud during like the late 90s, early 2000s of Mary Wilson and Diana Ross. It was some teen drama. Lastly, for the music, one particular vinyl record that I kept on listening to the whole month, and it was like one song I kept on listening to, was on this album, which is Luther Vandross' Busybody album. The song I kept on listening to, you guys, is called Make Me a Believer. I had never ever heard that song before. It also has a song, Superstar Until You Come Back to Me. But that Make Me a Believer, you guys, I kid you not, when I got this album, I listened to that same song about 6 times. And then I said, okay, girl, you got to listen to the whole album. But I kept on. And even when I would, drive wherever, I would play that song in my car. So I just was obsessed, okay? So yeah, guys, that is what I read, listened to, and watched the month of November. Had a really good November. Now, because it is Vlogmas, I have to do my 3 Christmas songs that I listened to today. And the first one is Luther Vandross, of course. Every year, every Christmas, love the video, and then it's Luther Vandross. It's like mic drop. You just say his name. You don't have to explain anything. Next, I listened to the OJ's Carol of the Bells. This song has become a staple of mine for Christmas. I have to listen to it. I discovered this song about 2 years ago and was just floored, because when you listen to it, you realize that they're not even singing, they're humming. And you know the OJs, they can sing, okay? That last year probably was my favorite Christmas song. Yeah, last year it was like my favorite Christmas song. I think it might be this year. Look, we're still in the beginning stages, but when I hear that song, I just, oh my gosh, the way that the arrangement is just fantastic. So yeah. And then the last song I listened to was, of course, had to go back to my Destiny's Child Christmas album. I listened to This Christmas. I love their version of This Christmas. That's one of my favorite Christmas albums because they do have traditional Christmas songs, but they do it in Destiny's Child's way. So this Christmas, you know, it doesn't sound like the traditional This Christmas by Donny Hathaway. Though it's that whole album, if you guys have not listened to Destiny's Child 8 Days of Christmas, I would highly recommend you do. I'm a fan of Destiny's Child. I grew up on Destiny's Child. That was the first CD I ever bought in my whole entire life. It was Writings on the Wall. So I will forever be a Destiny's Child fan. The 4 original, even though I like Michelle, but the 4 original is my favorite. So yeah, but love that album, love that version. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you, and I'll be back with more Black Books. Bye.